Hello, are you stuck in your life and you don't know quite yet how to get out? My name is Vera Dominguez. I'm the founder of the School of Personal Transformation, and today I have a super bonus for you. I'm going to share the 5 stages of grieving from my mentoring program with you today that will help you to understand where you are stuck and also give you the explanation of how you can unstuck yourself. So tune in and I hope you will enjoy it. Right, so welcome back. Let's start this. As I said, today I want to talk about grieving. And for this, I'm going to share my first session of my mentoring program, of the first module, which I called Understanding That You're Stuck. And I purposely called it this way because most of us realize that we're stuck, but we don't understand where it is and why it is and what's happening. So I think to start with, we need to understand where we are stuck, that we're stuck, and what that actually means. And once we know that we're stuck and where exactly we're stuck, it's so much easier to move forward. It's a very important lesson for me that I learned, and that's why I kick off my mentoring program with that one. It's because the day I understood that I was stuck, I had all the tools. All of a sudden, I had a way forward that helped me to get unstuck, and that's why I want to share it with you as well today here in our channel. So for that, I have actually pulled out the PowerPoint presentation that I have prepared for this module. So let me just pull that up for you. In the mentoring program, it's a video recording that I do of this PowerPoint presentation, but for today's purpose, I thought it's so much nicer if I actually do it live. So you can see me here in the little window, and you can still see the original PowerPoint presentation that goes with this session. Okay, so session 1 is the grieving process, and in that grieving process, you will have the 5 stages of grieving. And today I want to show you how these impact the state you currently find yourself in. And that's really important because once you're able to understand the different stages, you are able to understand where you fit in and what you can do to move forward. And as usual, I will also provide some coaching throughout the process. And if you have any questions afterwards, please do write them in the comment or contact me personally, because I understand some of you don't want this to discuss publicly. So the first thing is just to give you an overview, which talks about grief. And grief is really much more than just a process we go through when a loved one passes away, right? We often think of grief with death. But grief is really universal, and it may stem from the death of a beloved one, yes, but it can also be because of the loss of a job, the end of a relationship, or any other cause that really changes the life as you know it right now, or more so the way you would like to have it. Grief is very, very personal, and it's not a very neat or linear process. It doesn't follow any timelines or schedules. You may cry, become angry, withdraw, feel empty, and none of these things are unusual or wrong. Everyone grieves differently, but there are some commonalities in the stages and the order of feelings experienced during grief, right? And those are the ones that I want to share with you, because those are the ones that helped me realize, what was going on with me. So the 5 stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And not everyone will experience all 5 stages. You may not go through all of them in this order either. Grief is really different for every person. So you may begin coping with loss in the bargaining stage and then find yourself in anger or denial stage next. So you may go backwards again. You may remain for months in one of the 5 stages, but skip others entirely. All right. The thing is, when you're stuck, that's when you're just not moving on. Months and years go by, and you're still in one stage, one of those stages. That's when you're really stuck, right? When you feel like nothing is happening anymore. There's no more emotions other than the one emotion. There's no more. So let's talk about the 5 stages in a little bit more detail, so you can start to identify which one speaks most to you, and therefore you can start identifying where you are stuck. So the first one is denial. I think there's a new stage for that one, a new slide for that one. Grief is an overwhelming emotion, right? It's not unusual to respond to the intense and often sudden feelings by pretending the loss or change isn't happening. Denying it gives you the time to more gradually absorb the news and begin to process it. Okay, there's nothing wrong with denial. This is a common defense mechanism and helps numb you to the intensity of the situation. As you move out of the denial stage, however, the emotions you have been building will begin to rise. You'll be confronted with a lot of sorrow you have denied. That's also part of the journey of grief, but it can be difficult. So let me give you some examples, right, of a denial stage. So in a breakup or divorce, they're just upset. You're denying it. This will be over tomorrow. In a job loss, they were mistaken. They'll call tomorrow to say that they need me, right? You just lost your job and it's not happening. In the death of a loved one, well, she's not gone or he's not gone. She'll come around the corner any second. It's really difficult in losing a loved one to accept the loss. So we first deny it. And then in a terminal illness diagnosis, this isn't happening to me, right? The results are wrong. A lot of us know that. When we just feel a little bit sick, we deny the symptoms until it gets much better, and then we accept it and look after ourselves. Right, I talk already a lot about acceptance. Any clue there? The second stage is anger, right? Where denial may be considered as a coping mechanism. Anger is a masking effect. Anger is hiding many of the emotions and pain that you carry. This anger may be redirected at other people, such as the person who died, your ex, or your old boss. You may even aim your anger at objects or yourself. While your rational brain knows the object of your anger isn't to blame, your feelings in that moment are too intense to feel that, right? Remember, when you are enraged, when you are angry, we don't really rationalize when we're angry. Anger may mask itself in feelings like bitterness or resentment. It may not be clear-cut, fury, or rage. Not everyone will experience this stage, and some may linger here forever. As the anger subsides, however, you may begin to think more rationally about what's happening and feel the emotions you have been pushing aside. So the examples I have for you in regards to anger with a breakup, divorce: I hate him. Who regret leaving me? I mean, who hasn't thought that after a breakup? I certainly have. Job loss. They are terrible bosses. I hope they fail. I certainly have felt the first part about the bosses. Death of a loved one. If she cared for herself more, this wouldn't have happened. Really sad. Right now we're angry that they haven't cared more about themselves. In a terminal illness diagnosis, where is God in this? How dare God let this happen, right? We are angry that the person was taken from us. Right. The next stage, stage 3, bargaining. Let me peek here. But during grief, you may feel vulnerable and helpless. In those moments of intense emotions, it's not uncommon to look for ways to regain control or to want to feel like you can affect the outcome of an event. In the bargaining stage of grief, you may find yourself creating a lot of what if and if only statements. It's also not uncommon for religious individuals to try to make a deal or promise to God or a higher power in return for healing or relief from the grief and pain. Bargaining is a line of defense against the emotions of grief. It helps you postpone the sadness, confusion, or hurt, right? Let me give you some examples, and I'm sure some of them will resonate with you. In a breakup or divorce, if only I had spent more time with her, he would have stayed, right? If only. All of a sudden, a second ago, we were angry, we hated him. And now, we move from the anger, we see nothing happens, we get no response, he's not responding to our anger. We are not responding to our anger, we're not getting anything out of it. Now we're blaming ourselves and we're starting to bargaining, if I had done more, if I would have changed, if I would have said, if I would have done. It's all in the bargaining stage. In a job loss, if only I worked more weekends, they would have seen how valuable I am. Right. So it's not your boss's fault anymore. It's not your colleague's fault anymore. Now you're bargaining. Now you should have done something else. And, from our previous video, we know that should is a no-no. In a death of a loved one, if only I had called her that night, she wouldn't be gone. Now, in a death of a loved one, it's really difficult. My heart goes out to people that are in the grieving stage because they lose somebody. I mean, any grieving is bad, but losing another person, that takes it to another level. But also including ourselves. So if only I had called that night, she wouldn't be gone. We know that is not true. We're bargaining at this stage. In a terminal illness diagnosis, if only we had gone to the doctor sooner, we could have stopped this. That's when it becomes really difficult because, yes, maybe, if you have had a checkup before, but, where does it take you now? You're bargaining with something that's already happening. And that's what you do in the stage. You are desperate. You're not dealing really with the emotion, with really what's happening. You're finding for other ways by bargaining at this stage. Right, the next one up is depression in the 5-stage process. Whereas anger and bargaining can feel very active, right? Because we're saying things, we're thinking. Depression may feel like a quiet stage of grief. In the early stages of loss, you may be running from the emotions, trying to stay a step ahead from them. But at this point, however, you may be able to embrace and work through them in a more healthful manner. You may also choose to isolate yourself from others in order to fully cope with the loss. That's what we do when we're depressed. We're starting to really feel what we're feeling. We're not bargaining anymore. We're not angry anymore. We're starting, we're not denying anymore. That's just pushing everything away from us. When depression hits, that's when our emotions hit us. Depression may feel like the inevitable point of any loss. However, if you feel stuck here or can't seem to move past of this stage of grief, really, that's when you have to talk to somebody like a mental health specialist, a therapist. When you feel that depression goes on for years, that you're stuck in this stage, then you haven't found a coping mechanism, then you haven't found a way to deal with your emotion. That's when you really need to get help to get you out of this stage. Don't get stuck in this stage. In the examples, in the breakup, divorce, why go on at all, right? I've been there, why I've been there where I had to make a decision, what do I want? Do I want to fade away or do I want to find myself? And which route I took. Job loss, I don't know how to go forward from here. Well, that's when a coach can really help you. If it's about creating a new career or getting a new job, a coach can help you through that stage of depression, and look beyond your job loss, and look beyond what the meaning, and what other opportunities are opening up for you. In the death of a loved one, what am I without her? So that's when depression can sink very deep, and that's where you may want to get professional help with that sort of depression. In a terminal illness diagnosis, my whole life comes to this terrible end. Again, that's your depression speaking. There's other ways to cope with what's happening. I know it's terrible, and you may need a therapist to cope through this one, or you may need a guide, a coach that can guide you through this depression, and make the best of what you have, of what you have left, right? Because the final stage, that's the one it all comes down to. That's the one we want to get to, right? That's where we move forward. That's the acceptance. And a lot of people are not aware of what's happening to them. They know that they're angry, they know they're depressed, they know they're denying. You may know that. That's what I mean with understanding you're stuck. But what they're missing is the fifth step. The solution to all of this, to all 4 stages, is the acceptance. Acceptance is not necessarily a happy or uplifting stage of grief, right? It doesn't mean you have moved past the grief or loss. However, it does, however, mean that you have accepted it and have come to understand what it means in your life now. You may feel very different in this stage. That's entirely expected. You've had a major change in your life, and that affects the way you feel about many things. Look to acceptance as a way to see that there may be more good days than bad, but there may still be bad, and that's okay, right? Acceptance is not about jumping around and say, yes, I'm done, I'm happy now. No, acceptance is accepting what is happening to you and looking for a way forward. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Let me give you the examples first. In a breakup or divorce, ultimately, this was a healthy choice for me. This breakup or the divorce, it hurts. Yes, it hurts, because assumingly you love the person, and no matter if they were bad to you or not, right? We get this in toxic relationships. They raised hell for you. You lived through hell, but you still love them. But ultimately, accept that it was a healthy choice to break up, to divorce that person, to move away, right? In a job loss, I'll be able to find a way forward from here and can start a new path. Right. That's accepting the job loss. Yes, you lost maybe your dream job. You lost the job that was paying the bill. But if you stay in anger, if you stay in denial, or in the bargaining stage, you're not getting your old job back, right? You're not paying the bills by staying in those stages. The way to move forward is to accept that you lost your job. It's happening. It happened. And now find a way to move forward. Accept that there's a new start. Any door that closes opens a new door. That's all it needs to do. That's all it takes, is accepting that this door is closed, accepting it, feeling it, that you're accepting it, and accepting that there's no new door in front of you. People deny that there's a new door in front of you. People deny closing that door, and they get stuck. You are stuck when you do that. Accept, take responsibility to go through the new door, open it, and go through it and create a new job. Get a guide, get a coach, contact me. This is doable, and it's moving you forward. It's moving you out of getting stuck, of being stuck, right? This is unstucking you. In the death of a loved one, I'm so fortunate to have had so many wonderful years with him, and he will always be in my memories. Right? How healing is that? The person you loved is gone, and I'm very, very sorry from deep inside my heart. I'm very sorry when somebody loses a person they have loved. And the best thing you can do now is really honoring that person, memorizing that person, and accepting that you have this great opportunity to live a part of your journey, of your train ride together. And remember those memories. In a terminal illness diagnosis, I've had the opportunity to tie things up and make sure I get to do what I want in these final weeks and months, right? This is probably one of the most difficult things to do in life, is when you know you're passing, you have an illness that is going to take you away from being amongst your loved ones, from living. Accepting your destination means really to do in your last moments what you always wanted to do, to connect, to communicate with other loved ones, to do what you always wanted to do, tie things up, come to peace, right? In this most difficult situation in somebody's life, come to peace, find peace in acceptance. Right. That's really heavy, and I get that. That's really, really heavy, and that's why in the program you get a lot of coaching, one-to-one coaching with this sort, because it raises a lot of questions. But a lot of people, it really helps them, if they are willing to take on board the 5 stages and what it means, and to really process the information and breathe the information in, and work out, what it means to you. It is very healing, and it does get you unstuck. So the takeaway is the key to understanding grief is realizing that no one experiences the same thing. Grief is very personal, and you may feel something different every time. You may need several weeks, or grief may be years long. And if you decide you need to help to cope with these feelings and changes, then get professional help. Get professional help from a mental health professional. It's a good resource for vetting your feelings and finding a sense of assurance in these very heavy and weighty emotions. And if you're ready to accept, if you have come to that stage, that's when you're ready to move on, and that's when a guide, a coach can really help you. So, I've been there. There were some very lonely days and nights I had to face. I wouldn't want to go through this time again, to be honest. Sure, the good thing is that I found myself in all of this grief. I just would have preferred not to have lost myself that much, that I actually had to dig this deep. So anyways, what's done is done, right? I know I have accepted it, and I want to make the best out of it, which is helping you through the stage in a more conscious way. So you don't have to be as long in the dark as I have been, right? I didn't know about this grieving process until the day I found it. And that's what I said in the very beginning. When I found it, I had my enlightened moment. I all of a sudden was able to move forward. So regardless of why you're stuck or at which level of stuckness you are obviously ready to transform your life. Otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video. This whole grieving thing may not be your thing. And you may think, what's that got to do with anything? But my answer is this one. Don't take it so literal, right? People get put off by the word grieving. If you're watching this, something is happening to you, and the 5-stage grieving process may help you to explain why you have been feeling in a certain way. It helps you locate yourself in a forward driving process so you know what will happen next or what has to happen next. Can you start seeing now how this may help you to get unstuck, right? Find yourself in this grieving process. Ask yourself what you need, what you need to move on to the next stage until you get to the accepting stage. If you're able to identify where you are at, it makes it so much easier to understand everything else. It's good to be able to put a name to a feeling that you hadn't been able to identify before. The only thing you have to do now is give yourself time. Be conscious about the stage you're in and then give yourself time. Ask yourself what you need to move forward to the next stage. My solution was time and living in the present. I stopped worrying about what would happen in the evening. I literally had to live not quite hour by hour, but by morning, after work, by after work, by evening and after evening. As an example, when I finish work, I would ask myself, what do I want to do next? Do I go home? Do I fancy a walk or visit to the pub? I wouldn't worry all day at work and be frightened about being alone after work or not having any plans. Instead, I would stay always in the present. In the beginning, it's about survival. Thinking that way and a lot of sleep is what saved my sanity. The other thing I did, and I want you to do, is writing in a journal. Your best friend is going to be your journal. By journaling, I started listening to my thoughts because I was writing them down. It gave me the space to say what I wanted to say, but never had the opportunity before. I wrote about everything, about my fears, my hopes, my mistakes, my self-hate, my anger, my sadness, my pain. And when I couldn't write, I started drawing. I'm not good at drawing, but during that time, something inside me told me to get hold of a pen. Some of the drawings are quite intriguing. I created such a deep and profound connection with myself that in all of this pain, I felt so alive at the same time. There was this feeling, I was so hurt inside me, and for the first time, I could see this feeling on paper. That's when I first realized how stuck I was. I had to forgive myself to move on. I had to stop blaming myself for everything I had done or not done. In doing so, I started to slip through in stage 5 of the grieving process, acceptance. I accepted myself. I accepted being alone. I accepted to having to start over. I accepted being scared. I accepted of not knowing what would happen next. I accepted that the fairy tale love story was over. I accepted that I was a grown-up. I accepted that I was successful in my career. I accepted that I was pretty. I accepted that I could be happy. I accepted that I had to start all over. I accepted that I was nervous, and I accepted that I didn't have all the answers. I accepted that there would be good and bad days. I accepted that I had to face all of this alone. I accepted that I was tired at times. And I accepted that this was far from my ideal and the way I had dreamed what my life would be like. I accepted all the hollow moments, and I accepted the silence. And most of all, I accepted being responsible for everything that was happening to me. With this acceptance, I had opened that door that was closed to me before. I felt the fresh air coming through. There was so much responsibility in my hands. I swear I had never felt so alive before. So do you get how important it is to dig really deep, right? Let's recap quickly again and give you some more stuff to work on. If you're watching this, if you're still watching this, then you want to self-heal yourself, you want to self-discover yourself, right? So remember the 5 stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Find yourself in one of those stages. You don't have to do anything else but understand each stage first. Then when you're ready, you can read about the next stage and see if you're ready to move on to the next stage. It doesn't have to happen all in one go. You're going to spend time with this. Just get used to all the stages. Know what each stage means and ask yourself what you would need to get to the next one. What would have to happen for you to be able to move on? Then ask yourself how much is in your control. And if a lot of or all of it is in your control, ask yourself what you would need. And if you need more time with this, then please spend more time with this. There's no reason, why you need to rush through all of this. You can rewind this video and you can email me or contact me anytime. Take your time with this. This is not a competition with yourself, right? Be kind to yourself and listen to your heart. We don't do this often enough. We listen to our head. All we do is think. But this takes listening, with your heart. This takes connection with your inner knowledge, with your feelings. The other thing that is really important and that you can start doing now is journaling. And I don't want to tell you what you have to write down. And there's a video about journaling actually, so make sure you go watch it. But here's a summary. A good thing to write down is your thoughts or whatever you come up with all of the above, of all the emotions. You can talk about the grieving stages you experience with this guide, or whatever pops up in your mind. If nothing comes to your mind, write about the weather, your shoes, your neighbors, really anything. I mean, literally anything. Write about not knowing what to write. Write it down. I don't know what to write down, and Bia is telling me I need to write down, and this really sucks and I don't like it. Write that down. You really have to trust me on that one. You may not notice the benefits at first, and it may take weeks before you do, but they will come. Use colors if you feel like it. Be creative, if you want. You can glue things in it. You can start drawing. It can be like a combination of a scrapbook, diary. Maybe you want to do audios. How often should you write? Well, you shouldn't have to do anything in life, right? Remember, write as often as you can and want. I used to write whenever I felt like it. When it was really bad, those bad days, I would write. When it was really good, when I really had good days, when I was really happy, I would write. When I was okay, when I was just having those normal days, I usually wouldn't write, or I would come back a few days later with a summary, and it's like an update, right, of what I had been missing out to write down in my diary. Do whatever works for you. If you see yourself dodging at the writing, then set yourself the task of doing it every day, right? You will know if you're dodging it, or if you will write when it feels right. If you see you're not writing it and you're dodging it, then make it a task. There's a difference, and you will feel it. Don't pressure yourself too much into it. It's most important to really be connected to yourself, right? And that's it really for this session. Let me click out of there you go, so you can see me in full picture. This is it. This is the 5 stages of grieving. I cannot express how powerful this is, how much this has changed my life. This is, you remember I said I was at a crossroad, right? I literally was I was fading away, you know, all of a sudden after the breakup. You know, I was completely lost. I had lost myself in 11 years of this relationship. And sitting alone in my new living room in this new shared household, it it was really scary. It was a really lonely feeling. My family was living far away. I was on my own, and that was a good thing because I was confronted with what I want to do next. What, you know, what am I going to do next? You know, was I going to fade away, or was I going to find myself and really become you know, I wasn't there. Was I going to be? And in all of my soul searching, you know, I came across the 5 stages of grieving. That was a weeks later. So the first few weeks, I was completely lost. I did journaling, and that helped me to stay sane. And that's why I've created the School of Personal Transformation. That's why I've created the mentoring program, the guide, because I've put together all of my learning, all of my being lost. I've put it together in a very sensible way that will help you to find yourself, you know, to discover who you are. Those 5 stages of grief are the beginning of everything, I think, because if you can accept your situation no matter what it is, and it doesn't have to be sad either, you know, you may be really happy, you may be very creative, you may do tons of things, but we still get stuck. And it's really important to find out why you're stuck. You know, where are you stuck in your success? You know, are you denying something you have done wrong? Are you denying some limiting beliefs that you have and you need to let go of? Or are you bargaining? You know, are you having too much on your plate? And are you bargaining your own success, your own story? You know, this grieving process applies to any stage in our life when we're stuck. Not all sad, you know. It's not all about death, and yes, it can be really in any stage of your life when you just feel you're not moving forward, and maybe with your kids, you know, you're not moving forward with them. What do you need to accept? What do you need to accept to be able to move forward? Right. I'd be really curious about how this one works for you. Leave me your comments, and again, email me, contact me for any questions you have. Get on a free discovery call with me. Subscribe to the channel. And if you are a woman who is on her journey of self-discovery and self-healing, I so would welcome you into my private Facebook group, where you will meet lots of other amazing women on their journey. They're all on a different stage. There's some of them are stuck, some of them, you know, they know where they're going, still need some guidance, and some of them just want to be around other amazing women, right? Create this energy together. Find your tribe, come and join us. And that's it for today. Thank you very much. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next Thursday. Mwah!